Unleash your engine's potential with confidence. Introducing the new exclusive line of oil blends from Moose Off-Road. Moose Off-Road, on the gas since 1986.
Welcome everybody to another motocross action video. I'm Josh Mosman and this is the 2025 GasGas MC450F. $10,499, that's the retail price, and this thing has softer suspension, it has BrakeTech brake components, and also a BrakeTech hydraulic clutch, different from the KTM and Husqvarna siblings that it has. Also unique plastics. These things are pretty big, wild, and exotic. Of course, you got the beautiful red chromoly steel frame. So the GasGas MC450, yes, very similar to the KTM and Husqvarna, but a few minor differences. In this video, we're gonna talk about the money-saving parts that GasGas put on this bike to see if it's really worth the difference. All right guys, we're back. Josh and Josh, gas and gas, 2 times the Josh, 2 times the gas, 2025 MC450F. And we got 3 big topics to touch on with this bike today. BrakeTech versus Brembo. Also, engine. How does the engine work on this one versus the KTM with the map switch and multiple map options? And the third question, handling. How does the GasGas with softer suspension valving handle compared to the KTM 450 with a little more race-ready settings? Josh Fowl and I both rode the bikes today. Both rode the KTM and we both rode the GasGas, and we're gonna break down all the differences right now. So first impression for me today, hopping on the GasGas, it's been a couple weeks probably since I've ridden a GasGas, and just feeling the brakes in the pits and even riding down to the track, I'm like, oh, these are not gonna be any good. But honestly, I was impressed with how they worked once we got warmed up. About the first lap or two, kind of broke the brakes in a little bit more, and honestly, I was really impressed. BrakeTech is kind of a copy of Brembo. Brembo is known for being best in class. KTM, Husqvarna have used Brembo. Even GasGas used Brembo for a few years. Then GasGas lowered the price point and tried to change up their platform by adding BrakeTech components on their models. A couple years ago, they were terrible. I mean, you couldn't stop. It was very dangerous to even ride through the pits. Guys were running into the side of vans, like it was just bad. But today, no vans, no innocent bystanders, no pedestrians. Nobody was harmed in the making of this video because these brakes actually worked pretty good. They did get updated last year for 2024. Internally, they look very similar to Brembo brakes, but honestly, my first impressions, like I said, riding through the pits, not as strong. Once they broke in, warmed up, they worked pretty well. The rotors are also different than what comes on the KTM and Husqvarna models. More holes in the rotors to get a little more airflow, keep them cooler. So that's my first impression. Honestly, I wanted to dog on the brakes more, but they weren't too bad. How was it for you today, Josh?
Well, you know what? Honestly, I'm gonna repeat exactly what you just said, because you hit the nail on the head. At first, well, we know the original installment, we did not like these.
Yep.
Overly progressive, not enough feel, just really weak and bleak. These are much better. Not far off of the Brembos.
Yep.
Pretty impressive.
Yeah, and how would you think they would compare? Because you rode the Yamaha, you rode the Honda and the KTM and the GasGas. How do BrakeTech brakes, we know they fit underneath Brembo, but where do they fit compared to Nissan on the other 2 Japanese models?
The Japanese bikes tend to be a lot of on and off. It's really hard to drag the front brake through a corner. It's just real jerky, real on and off.
Yeah.
This, you put in the middle. You know, Brembo's on top, we'll put BrakeTech in the middle.
Really?
Nissan, yeah.
Better than Nissan?
Absolutely, yeah.
Wow. So it's kind of hard to say that, honestly. We want to find more differences between KTM and Husqvarna and GasGas, and we want to dog on the BrakeTech brakes more, but today they weren't so bad.
All right, Josh, so the engine is unchanged from 24. What did we feel, and is there any differences?
So basically, this is a KTM engine inside of a red GasGas frame. The only differences between this engine and a KTM are the resonance chamber. You can see the header here is pretty thin, smooth. No exotic two-stroke looking expansion chamber here on the front. So that affects sound, also slightly a little bit of power. But the biggest difference is the map switch. So no map switch on the GasGas. They do that to try to save a little bit of money on the retail price. So that means you don't have map 2. That means you don't have quick shift, you don't have traction control, and you don't don't have launch control. All those things are accessible if you do buy a map switch, and you can install it, plug it into the ECU, and you'll be good to go on your GasGas 450, but you don't get that stock. So on the track, you're riding in map 1 all the time. We compared it to KTM and map 2 today. What do you think about the power?
Well, this bike is, I'm gonna call it lethargic. It's just not quite up there on power. If I could give it a number, maybe 20% down. It feels like it pulls further, but I think it's just because the engine's a little down on power. It just takes longer to get there.
Yep.
The KTM is more exciting. It's a little quick on the throttle, a little more, not quick, but snappy right on the bottom, where this is just kind of linear, really, really easy to ride.
Yep, and then going with that, the airbox is also slightly different. So KTM has more air going in through underneath the seat where the Superman seat grab handles are. GasGas kind of closed off up there, so it doesn't allow as much air to go in, which means a little less excitement off the bottom end.
All right, and last but not least on our big 3 list is suspension and handling. Tell us what we felt on this bike today.
Yeah, so GasGas, big differences. It has the same chassis as KTM, so this frame is exactly the same. The linkage is also the same. It's got the new updated linkage that KTM has for 2025, so a little bit thinner, less material, allows it a little more flex in the chassis. Also got these sweet holes up here in the shock tower mount and sweet holes in the engine hangers. So more flexibility for 2025. That is the same as KTM and Husqvarna. Additionally, it's got the same suspension components. So the forks and the shock are the same on the outside. On the inside, the valving is a little bit softer in the forks, and it's a little bit softer in the shock as well. For the last couple years, the GasGas model has come with 4.2 shock springs. Now it's got a 45 on there to match the KTM, so spring rate is the same as the KTM. Of course, it does have air forks. The valving is a little bit softer. So what that equates to, GasGas, a little softer, a little more vet friendly, a little more novice friendly. Josh, the bike is pretty fresh right now. It is easier to ride brand new. Right now we got 2 hours on the GasGas 450. It still feels fresh. It still is gonna have some time to break in. One thing I will tell you guys, about one bike every single year comes with forks that are not broken at all. And these forks, this is the bike. For 2025, it's the GasGas 450. WP air forks, they get a bad rap for being harsh, and sometimes they come straight from the dealership, super harsh, super stiff, and they need a couple hours to break in. Other times, I mean, I'd say 90% of the time, our air forks that come from KTM and Husqvarna and GasGas are totally fine off the shelf. Don't really need a lot of break-in time. Once a year, we get one that's super stiff, and that was this one today. So need some time to break in the air forks, break in the seals, get everything moving, and then it'll be a softer and more compliant bike, but today it was honestly pretty harsh.
All right, a few more of the differences between KTM and GasGas. GasGas comes with a Maxxis ST tire, a cast triple clamp. Keep an eye on these. They have different torque spec than your KTM. They're higher. And the other thing is a 12 mil taller bar. I didn't care for it, but Josh didn't have any problems with it today.
Yeah, neck and bars come stock on KTM and GasGas. These are 12 mil taller, as he said. It's kind of funny. Husqvarna, lowest bar, flattest bar, pro tapers. Neck and KTM just a tiny bit taller, and that's what you like.
Yep.
And then the GasGas are quite a bit taller at 12 mil. I kind of liked it today. And then the forged aluminum triple clamps do offer a little more flex in the front end just to give you a little more compliance on the GasGas. So overall, this bike is in general a little more compliant. Does take some time to break in. Normally, I would be raising red flags with these forks, and I'd be calling GasGas and calling WP and saying, what the heck, what's going on here? We can't even record our video today because these things are broken. They're not that bad, but they are just a little bit stiff. And we know from experience, once a year, we get a fork like this that holds up quite a bit. I was 2.5 inches from bottoming, and that was after 30 minutes of riding. So yeah. GasGas MC450F, there are some differences. Brake Tech clutch, we had no problems with that today. Nope. And internally, the clutch is obviously the same as KTM. Belleville washer, I mean, how many hours do you get on a clutch normally?
These KTMs is a minimum of 40. Even if you're harsh on them, they last a really long time.
Yeah, so that's something we really appreciate. Of course, spokes do come loose. It's the same with KTM, Husqvarna, and GasGas, so keep an eye on your spokes. Other than that, is there anything I'm missing, Josh?
Sprocket bolts is another one.
Yeah.
Just make sure you double check. Once they seat, they seat. And a sweet time for me on this fork is 6 hours, and it really comes to life at 10.
Yeah.
So that's a good number to look forward to.
Also, it's easy to get access to your air filter, and obviously popping that twin air filter on and off is easy, but the whole GasGas side panel is a little more difficult to put on. We do appreciate the easier access that KTM and Husqvarna have. So overall, GasGas MC450F, fun times today, and 450 Shootout. Check it out on our website and YouTube channel.